Evening, students.
Good evening, sir.
So let's get started. So in yesterday's class, we were discussing about two important concepts. What were they? One is slope of a line, and the second is we started with the basics of differentiation. Right? So is there any doubt from slope of a line? So what was the formula of slope of line when 2 points are given to you? y2 minus y1 divided by x2 minus x1. So what does the slope of a velocity time graph represent?
Acceleration.
Acceleration. What does the slope of a displacement time graph represent?
Velocity.
Velocity. So next is differentiation, right? So what does differentiation mean? Differentiation is also a mathematical tool to do what? To find the
Slope of a
whom?
tangent of any curve.
Yes, slope of a tangent to any curve at where? At a given point, right? If you see the curve is taking some random shape, if I ask you what is the slope at this point, slope of the curve at this point, what are you supposed to do? You take a scale, then draw a tangent at this point and calculate the slope of it. So how are you going to calculate the slope of it? Differentiate the curve with respect to x. So that's what we call it as dy by dx, right? Yesterday someone asked me a question. We told I'll start with that. I think it was Giridhar. You're there, no? Giridhar? Are you there? Okay. Okay. So this dy by dx, I told you, right? How do you read it? It's called as derivative of y, WRT is with respect to x. This is how you read, okay? So derivative of y with respect to x is what we call it as dy by dx. And this is called as the differential coefficient. Okay. So wherever you see the word d, it means it's a differential coefficient. It's more technical, but as of now, you can remember it as derivative of y with respect to x. Okay. Now I'm going to give you certain formulae and methods to differentiate the functions, whichever is needed only for physics. I'm not going to go in depth. Okay. So if suppose y is equal to f of x, if suppose the function that is given to you is x power n, where okay, if it is x power n, then the derivative of it dy by dx is, that is d by dx of, you write it as x power n, is n into x power n minus 1. Similarly, if the function given to you is sin x, then d by dx of sin x is given as cos x. Okay. Similarly, if it is cos x, then d by dx of cos x is given as minus sin x. If you know these three formulas, they are sufficient as of now. Remaining things you will learn it later. Don't worry about it. Is it clear, guys? So derivative of x power n is n into x power n minus 1. Derivative of sin x is cos x. Derivative of cos x is minus sin x. Okay. Now, so some properties of differentiation. If there is a function, let's say h of x, which is sum of two other functions, that is, let's say it is f of x plus g of x. Okay. To give a better example for it, if I say f of x is x square and g of x is cos x, okay, there is something like this. Then what do I call h of x as? It is going to be x square plus cos x. Let's say there is a function like this. Then d by dx of h of x is given as d by dx of f of x plus d by dx of g of x. Okay, what I'm trying to say is, if you want to find the derivative of h of x, you just differentiate f of x separately, g of x separately, and add them. Okay, that is a plus here. Okay, same is the case with the minus also. So whether you have a particular function h of x, which is the sum or difference of two other functions, then the derivative of that function h of x is nothing but derivative of f of x plus or minus derivative of g of x. So let's take the example and solve. Example, if h of x is equal to x square plus sin x, okay, find the derivative of it. D by dx of h of x is equal to, what will be the derivative of x square? Wait, I'll write an extra step. D by
2x.
dx, yes. So derivative of x square is 2x. How did you get the 2x? Because derivative of x power n is n into x power n minus 1. So derivative of x square will be 2 into x power 2 minus 1. So derivative of x square is 2x plus, what is the derivative of sin x?
Cos 1.
So answer will be 2x plus cos x. Had it been minus, it would be 2x minus cos x. That's it. Clear? Next. One more point I would like to add here is, if it is some constant multiplied with f of x, or I'll say constant multiplied with g of x, then d by dx of constant of g of x is equal to, the constant will come out and it will become d by dx of g of x. That is, whenever a function is multiplied with a constant, a single function, whenever a single function is multiplied with a constant, that constant can always be taken out. So example, if I say f of x is equal to 2 times sin x, what is d by dx of f of x? It is d by dx of 2 into sin x. But sin x is a function, 2 is a number, which is a constant, so 2 can be taken out. 2 into d by dx of sin x. What is the answer? It will be 2 times.
Cos x.
That's the answer. Right? Am I clear? So this is 2 times cos x. Okay. Next. Second property is called as product rule. Suppose there is a function h of x which is a product of f of x and g of x, which is a product of f of x and g of x. Then d by dx of h of x is going to be how much? Anybody knows? Okay.
So you're asking for product rule.
Do you know what is the answer for this?
Sir, differentiation of f multiplied by g and differentiation of g multiplied by f.
That's right. So f of x into d by dx of g of x plus g of x into d by dx of f of x. Okay, it's very simple. Though the formula appears to be big, as you applied for 2-3 problems, you'll understand it. Okay, d by dx of h of x is f of x into derivative of g of x plus g of x into derivative of f of x. Let's take an example and understand. Let's say h of x is equal to x square into sin x. Okay. what would be the derivative of h of x? X square into d by dx of sin x plus
Differentiation of x square plus sin x.
d by dx of x. Right? So x square, you leave it as it is. Derivative of sin x is going to be cos x plus sin x, you don't disturb it. So derivative of x square is 2x. So answer will be x square cos x plus 2x sin x. X square cos x plus 2x sin x is the derivative of x square sin x. Okay. I'll give you another example. You guys solve and tell me. Into cos x. That's all I can give you. Good first.
Sir, minus 2x to the power 5 sin x plus 10x to the power 4 cos x.
D by dx of h of x is equal to, so you can first take out 2 outside, 2 into d by dx of x power 5 cos x, right? So this will be how much? 2 into, what is the derivative of x power 5 cos x? So it is x power 5 into d by dx of cos x plus cos x into d by dx of x power 5. Right? So 2 into x power 5 into derivative of cos x is minus sin x plus cos x into derivative of x power 5 is 5x power 4.
Sir,
Tell me.
sir, in the question it is 2x to the power 5, sir. So it should be 10x to the power 4.
I took the 2 outside as common.
Oh, okay, sir.
So minus x power 5, yeah, tell me. Plus,
So can we also take the 2 inside and do it as
yeah, you
this?
can do it, you can do it.
Okay.
Since I'm showing it for the first time, I'm doing it like this. Going forward, we'll skip these steps. As you keep practice, no? As you have more practice, no, at that time I'll skip these steps. I'll directly arrive at this answer. Okay, so this is all about product rule. And lastly, you have something called as quotient rule. Okay, suppose h of x is equal to f of x divided by g of x, where g of x is not equal to 0. This type of a function is called as a rational function. Like how you have rational numbers, right? If you have instead of numbers you have functions, we call it as a rational function. That's it. Okay, h of x is equal to f of x divided by g of x, we call it as rational function. Then d by dx of h of x is given as, listen to this carefully, this should have a proper order. You will write the denominator as it is into, you will differentiate the numerator, okay, and you will put a minus. You will write the numerator as it is and differentiate the denominator. The whole divided by denominator square. Okay. So g of x into derivative of f of x minus f of x into derivative of g of x, the whole divided by g of x, the whole square. Okay, let's take an example.
Sir,
Tell me. Tell me.
Sir, I'm Neeraja, sir. You have marked me absent and I have got a message.
Okay, okay, I'll check that. I didn't mark it actually.
Okay.
Maybe a person LL form. Okay.
Okay, okay.
Yeah. So x square divided by sine x. So x square divided by sine x. So d by dx of h of x is how much? D by dx of x square divided by sine x. Tell me. So write the denominator as it is. Steps are important. Denominator should be written first into derivative of x square minus x square into derivative of denominator divided by sin x the whole square. Clear? So it is going to be sin x into derivative of x square is how much? It is 2x minus x square into derivative of sin x will be
Cos x.
cos divided by
Sin
sin
square x.
square x. So answer will be 2x sin x minus x square cos x divided by sin square x. This is the required answer. That's it. Okay. Suppose another example. If I give you f of x is equal to tan x and find the derivative of it, find and tell me. So how will you write it?
Sir, we should take the denominator as 1.
Sir, sin x upon cos x.
You can write it as sin x by cos x. If you take denominator as 1, there is no use because you don't know the derivative of tan x. So you write it as sin x by cos x and then now you can proceed. So denominator into the derivative of numerator minus numerator into the derivative of denominator, the whole divided by cos x square. So this will be cos x into derivative of sin x is cos x minus sin x into derivative of cos x is minus sin x, the whole divided by cos square x. So cos x into cos x is cos square x minus of minus will be plus sin x into sin x is sin square x. The whole divided by cos square x. So cos square x plus sin square x is going to give you 1. 1 divided by cos square x is how much x?
Sec square x. Secant square x.
It is secant square x. There is something like that. So it is secant square x, right? So these are all the important properties related to differentiation case. I hope it is clear, right?
Sir,
Tell me.
sir, we know already that like secant square x is the differentiation of tan x, sir. So why
How
can't
do you know?
we?
I never gave you, no. I told you. I'm not sure if you already know it, but I didn't give you the formula, no.
Yes, sir. If we keep the denominator as 1 and if we do also, we are getting the same, sir.
Actually, you need not do it, and that's what I'm trying to say in the future. When you do it in math or you do it in physics also, derivative of tan x directly you write as secant square x. When you already know the derivative, you need to write the denominator as 1. by 1 and to apply the u by v rule, that is quotient rule, which is not needed because you already know the derivative of sin x is cos x. That's what I'm trying to say. So since I didn't give you the formula, I wanted you to derive. How did you know that it is secant square x? It has actually come because of this only. Well, everything, how do you know that the derivative of sin x is cos x? A concept of limits. Only then you will understand it. Okay. So if at all you forget also, this will help you to derive the formula. Next. I'll put a question like this. Find the slope of, not sure there is.
So your voice is breaking in between.
1 minute. I'm just checking that. I think there is some internet issue. Just give me a minute. One minute. Yes. So I hope you're able to hear me now, right? Find the slope of tangent to the curve f of x is equal to x square plus 2x plus 5 at x is equal to 2. Write down, find the slope of the tangent to the curve f of x is equal to x square plus 2x plus 5 at x is equal to 2. Anybody with the answer?
6, sir.
That's right. So dy by dx will be equal to, that is derivative of f of x with respect to x is going to be 2x plus 2. So derivative of f of x with respect to x at x is equal to 2 is going to give us 6. Okay. So if I have to explain the right meaning of it, the reason I give you this function is because you know what a second degree polynomial represents, right? So it represents an upward parabola if the coefficient of x square is positive. Okay. So at point x is equal to 2, if I draw a tangent, then the slope of this tangent is 6. So that is the meaning. Okay.
Sir,
Tell me.
sir, but I think you didn't give one formula, sir.
Which form?
Sir, the differentiation of a constant is 0 and differentiation of x.
Not needed. Derivative of a constant is going to be 0. If I have to tell you why the derivative of constant, okay. So derivative of constant is 0, guys, if you guys didn't know this. Why is it so? Because, yeah, that's right. Because the derivative of phi is going to be 0. Why is the derivative of constant 0? Because d by dx of c can be written as c into x power 0. Right? This will be c into d by dx of x power 0. So derivative of x power 0 is going to be c into 0 into x power 0 minus 1. So what is the answer? It is 0. So that is the reason why the derivative of a constant is 0. So derivative of 5 is 0. I hope this point is clear, right? You're able to visualize it. So x square plus 2x plus 5 represents an upward parabola because the coefficient of x square is positive. And if you draw a tangent to this particular curve, then the slope of the tangent is going to be 6. That is the meaning of dy by dx at x is equal to 2. Right? To some extent, I hope you're able to visualize it, right? So this is all about differentiation. So the next topic that I'm supposed to discuss is integration. Okay. So this is also a tool. Okay. So basically, integration is another operation for summation that you have already learned. Okay. So where did you learn summation in your 10th standard? Guys, it's better I'll
In
log into another.
statistics.
Wait, I'll log in through another device.
Students, am I audible now?
Yes, sir.
Is it better?
Yes, sir.
So now I am going to discuss about integration. So that is the next step. Okay. So integration is nothing but summation, because when we say integrating something, you add up something, right? But yes, somebody told me summation you have learned in, you would have seen this symbol, you would have seen this in statistics, right? So when I say integration is nothing but summation, why can't we just go with the symbol of summation itself? Why do we need a separate operation is the next question that we need to ask. Okay. So generally, when you talk about statistics, what comes to your mind? So what do you do in statistics? You will have a data in your
plotting graph.
Sorry?
Plotting graphs, sir.
So you'll plot the graphs, all those things are okay. 1 minute. So it's not about plotting graphs. You'll mainly concentrate on a factor called as central tendency, that is calculating the mean, median, and mode, right? So to calculate the mean, median, and mode, what is that? What is it you're given? You're provided with. You're provided with a certain set of data, right? So to that data, if I ask you to calculate the average, then how is the data supposed to be? See, for example, if I give you 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, and I ask you to calculate the average for this, I don't want the answer. Tell me, what will you do? You will just add everything and divide it with the number of data you have in your hand. Okay. So this data can be related to anything, right? It can be subject marks, it can be rank, or it can be anything for that matter, right? So how many data did they give you? What is the number of data they've given you? They've given you
5.
5. So when I say this data is related to a particular context, right? You know the exact value for some person as 1, for some other person as 2, for third person 3, 4, and 5. But if I ask you the question, do you know what is happening between 1 and 2? Are you going to know the answer for it? Obviously, no, right? Because nothing is provided to us, nor did we do an experiment to find out what it is. So this kind of a data, can I call it as discrete data? Right? Can I call it as discrete? Because I don't know what is happening between 1 and 2. 1 is there. If I take a real number, if 1 is there, 2 is there. I don't know what is happening between them. Right? At that point of time, what we will do is we will use the concept of summation. But if suppose I have a graph, okay? Suppose I have a graph. I'll take a simple graph, which you already know. I'll take a straight line like this, okay? Now, if I drop perpendiculars like this, you're able to understand what I'm doing. So if I drop a perpendicular, then what is the height of this perpendicular that is going to tell us? So yesterday I told you one important point, right? If this is y is equal to x, okay? If this point is 2, 0, then what is going to be the coordinate of this point? You know that
Y
x is 2.
to x. So y is also
x is 2. Yes, x is 2 means y will also be 2. So the coordinate of this point is 2, 2. Suppose I take a point 3, then the coordinate of this point is 3, 3. It keeps on going like this, right? So to be more specific, if I take this point to be x, then the coordinate of this point is x, f of x. So try to concentrate, guys. Try to observe. If somebody asks you what does this height represent, you will say the height is equal to 2 units. Here, if somebody asks you what is the height it is going to represent, it is going to be 3 units. If somebody asks you what is the height that it is going to represent here, you're going to say it is f of x. Right? So am I clear till this point? Is it clear? Tell me.
So why are we taking f of x instead of x itself, sir?
No, x, f of x. Here, this question, it is x max. If it is a random value, it is going to be f of x only, no?
X, f of x is a general form.
A general thing. So generally, you take any function as y is equal to f of x. There is a reason I took a simple graph for your understanding. I didn't want to directly jump into functions. Okay. So this is f of x, means it's the exact value of y at that particular location. Am I right? Right. So if I put a question like this, using summation, that is using sigma, add all the values of f of x that you have from 0 to x and tell me the answer. I repeat, using the symbol summation for this particular graph, let me say, for example, let me say this, I have a limit now, okay? If I say I have this point as 5, 5, add all the possible function values between 0 and 5 using summation and tell me, is it possible for you to do that?
No, sir.
Why?
Sir, because there are
Was there a? Sorry, your voice broke. Can you come again?
So there are many values between 0 and 5, sir.
Because between 0 and 5, if I put a question like this, how many real numbers are going to exist? You have an answer for it. Obviously, no, right? There are going to be infinite. It's an infinite set, right? Since you don't have a discrete data in your hand, because what you will think, you cannot add 0 plus 1 plus 2 plus 3 plus 4 plus 5. Because you need to add 0 to what value? 0 to 0 point, let's say 10 zeros and a 1. It can be 100 zeros and a 1. Even smallest of the values will also exist, which we cannot predict. Right? So what are you able to understand? Summation is mainly used when you have discrete values in your hand. Whereas integration is used when you have a continuous set of values in your hand. That is, if you have these kind of infinitesimally small values also existing, and you want to add up something, then you go with the process of integration. Okay. So basically, integration, as I told you, it's summation only. You're going to perform the sum operation, but we are not going to use sigma or plus. We are going to use some other symbol to understand what it means. Okay. So before that, you need to understand one thing, that integration basically are classified into two types. One is called as indefinite integration, and the second is called as definite integration. So to make you understand better, what I will do is, if I give you sigma x square, if I give you x square I square, I is equal to 1 to 5. What is the difference between this one and this one? What is the difference between the first summation and the second summation? What is there? You're able to clearly see something.
So we are given
The second one
adequate
is
data
limit.
in the second one.
Okay, in the first case, you don't know the limits, right? You don't know you don't know where you're supposed to add that x square, starting with which number and ending with which number. Whereas in the second case, you're crystal clear about the limits. Okay. So if I have to give a name, this name doesn't exist, guys. Just to create a similarity, I'm just giving you. If I call this as indefinite summation, then this is called as definite summation. In a similar way, indefinite means without limits. So if you perform the operation of integration without giving the limits, we call it as indefinite integration. If you do it with limits, if you do it with limits, we call it as definite integration. I hope that makes sense, right? So now my question is, what did I ask you in this context? I asked you to add all the function values between which two parameters? Between 0 and 5. By doing that, what do you think you are going to get? If I keep shading it like this,
Area under slope.
Area of the triangle.
area, not area under slope. You will get area under that curve. Okay. So definite integrals are basically tools or mathematical tool used to find area made by the curve with independent axis. Okay. So basically, definite integrals are tools. It's a tool which is used to find the area made by the curve with independent axis. So what do I mean by independent axis here? So this is the curve f of x.
X-axis.
X-axis. So if you have y is equal to f of x, the point I would like to stress upon here is y is called as the dependent axis and x is called as the independent axis. Okay, please be careful with this. Independent axis means it doesn't depend on anything. You can give input, and based on the input you give, the value output will keep changing. Right? So tool used to find the area made by the curve with the independent axis is what is definite integrals. So if somebody asks you, is integration used to find the area under the curve? You should be clear, you should be specific. What are you going to tell you? Only definite integrals are used to calculate the area under the curve. Indefinite integrals will just find the antiderivative. Okay. Now we know that. I'll just give you a mathematical expression. I'm not going to get into much details, okay, where you might get confused. So I'll just go into the mathematical details of how to handle problems based on integration and the knowledge that is needed for physics. Okay. So if I have a function f of x, okay, you have something called as derivative, then you will have something called as integral of f of x into dx. Okay, so this symbol is called integral. Okay, integral of f of x, you read it as with respect to dx. So how do you read it? Integral of f of x with respect to dx. So to be more specific, integral is also called as antiderivative. There is a reason for it, okay? There is a reason for it because if I say, see, I'll put a block diagram. Suppose the function that I give you is y is equal to f of x. When you differentiate this, let's say you are getting capital F of x. Okay. So what I'm trying to say is derivative of f of x with respect to dx is capital F of x. Correct? You take this dx to the other side, then d of x. Is this step clear, guys? Is this step clear? Did you understand what I told? Means if you differentiate f of x and you're getting capital F of x. For example, if you differentiate sin x, where sin x is small f of x, what will be the capital F of x? Guys, are you able to hear me?
Cos x.
Yes. So it is going to be cos x. So derivative of sin x is equal to cos x into dx. Can I write it like that? Now, if I put integral symbol on both the sides, integral and derivative are counter operations of each other. So f of x will be equal to capital integral of capital F of x dx. Means what am I trying to say? If you differentiate sin x, you will cos x. If you cos x, what will you get?
Sir, could you repeat, sir? Your voice is breaking.
No, I'll say till where was I audible? Till where was I audible?
Sir, it was
Sir, could you
the
repeat the whole
integral.
thing, sir? For me, I think it was breaking from starting.
Okay. See, I'm saying if a function y is equal to f of x is given, you differentiate a small f of x and you get capital F of x. So derivative of small f of x, if I call it as capital F of x, then I take this dx to the other side and multiply with capital F of x. See, d by dx of f of x is equal to capital F of x. Take this dx to the other side. So derivative of small f of x is equal to capital F of x into dx. Right. Now, if I integrate on both the sides, integral and derivative are counter operations, so that you will get f of x is equal to integral of capital F of x dx. What I'm trying to say is, if you differentiate a function and you get an output, then if you integrate the output, you will get back the function. They are reverse operations of each other. For example, d by dx of sin x is how much? Cos x, right? So derivative of sin x is equal to cos x into dx. Can I write it like this? Now, if I integrate on both the sides, integral and derivative will get cancelled. So sin x will be equal to integral of cos x dx. So you would understand what was the derivative of cos x?
Minus sin x.
Minus sin.
But what is the integral of cos x?
Sin x.
Sin x. Okay, so this is where people get confused. Tell me.
Sir, why are we cutting those integral and d?
You don't cut it. I'm just telling it for your understanding. They are counter operations of each other.
Okay, sir.
Integral and derivative. That is why I called it as antiderivative.
Okay, sir.
That is how it works. That is how the operation works. Okay. So keeping all these points in mind, I'll give you certain definitions. So y is equal to f of x. Integral of f of x dx is what? So if y is equal to x power n, then integral of x power n dx is equal to x power n plus 1 divided by n plus 1, where n is not equal to minus 1. Okay, where n is not equal to minus 1. N can be anything except minus 1. Similarly, y is equal to sin x. So integral of sin x dx is equal to, you should think like this, on differentiating what function will you get plus sin x?
Minus cos x.
Yes, so that is the answer, minus cos x. Okay, see, I'll write one thing now, don't get confused. I wrote indefinite integral here because I didn't add limits now. So whenever you're doing indefinite integral, you need to add some constant. Why it is so, you learn it later, don't worry about it. Okay, don't worry, don't ask me why you're adding that constant at all. It's a simple thing only, but I don't want to tell now. It will unnecessarily confuse you. Okay, so y is equal to cos x, then integral of cos x dx will be, on differentiating which function will you get cos x?
Sin x.
Sin x.
That's the answer. Okay,
So in the
these are,
first formula, why shouldn't n be minus 1?
if n is minus 1, what will happen here?
It will become 0, sir.
It will become 0 and it will become infinity.
0
There
is
is nothing.
indefinite.
So it will become an infinite, because when n is minus 1, there is some other derivative. You call it as log x. The integral is log x. As I told you, those things are not needed now. That is why I'm not stressing. As of now, except n is equal to minus 1 is not applicable for the formula x power n. Okay. If you want, you can write it down. If it is x power minus 1, it is nothing but 1 by x. So integral of 1 by x dx is nothing but log x base e plus c. You can write it down, but don't ask me what this base e and all those things are, because it will take some time to explain. That itself, you need a class to explain, which is not needed. Unnecessary data at this point of time. Okay. So is it clear till this step? Is there any doubt? Now I need to explain definite integrals. Okay. So how to find or the definite integral, like see, for example, y is equal to x. Okay, y is equal to x. Find integral of x dx between 0 to 5 and tell what is the answer. Okay, listen to this carefully, guys. What did I say? Definite integral will give you the output as, it will give you the area. Area made by whom? Area made by the curve with the independent axis. Right? So, according to the formula of x power n, what will be the integral of x dx? So, I'm writing an extra step.
By 2.
So, it should be x squared by 2. Once you do the integral, you should remove the integration symbol. Then, you need to put a square bracket like this. And this is called as the lower limit. And this is called as the upper limit. Okay. Write the lower limit at the right side, bottom, and upper limit at the right side, right top. Okay. After this, what you will do is substitute the upper limit in the variable. X is a variable here, right? So substitute the upper limit, 5 square, constant, you leave it as it is. So upper limit in the place of x, by default a minus sign, lower limit in the place of x. Okay. 5 square by 2 minus 0 square by 2. That will give you 25 by 2 minus 0. Answer is 12.5. Okay. Is it clear till this step? So you got some 12.5, but we don't know what the 12.5 actually means. 12.5 is the area made by the curve with the x-axis. So actually, I can put it as square units as of now. No. So this one you got using the process of integration. Did everyone copy this? Did you guys copy this?
1 second, sir.
Yeah, please.
Sir, that limit means x can't be greater than 5 and lower than 0.
No. It can't be. Your interest of study is only between 0 and 5. Okay.
Yes, sir.
Now see, y is equal to x basically represents like this. See, since in most of your schools they would have started relations and functions, there is something called as an identity function, which is nothing but y is equal to x. Okay, if I take this point as 0, 0, and for the time being, let me call this as 5, 0. Okay, if I drop a perpendicular for the line y is equal to x. Okay, how much is this height, guys? What is this point? It is 5, 5. So this height is 5. And how much is this height? This width? This is also
5.
5. So this forms a right angle triangle. For a right angle triangle, what is the unit? What is the area? Half into base into height. That is 25 by 2, which is still going to be 12.5. Are you guys able to understand? The reason I took this problem as an example is I can show you both the methods. So whether you use integration, you got the same 25 by 2, or you use it or solve it using the direct method, you're still going to get same 12.5. Clear? So that is the basic significance of definite integrals. Okay. Now, another example. Find the integral of sin x dx between 0 to, are you guys comfortable with radians?
Yes, sir.
Okay, pi by 2. For those who don't know what is pi by 2, it is 90 degrees. Do this and tell me what is the answer. Answer, guys. Still doing?
This is -1.
Is it -1? Check it again.
Sir, 1, sir.
It is +1. Cos integral of sin x is minus cos x. After integrating, you will remove the limits, integral symbol. So minus cos pi by 2, minus is by default, you have minus cos 0. You miss this minus.
Yes, sir.
Yes. So minus cos pi by 2 is 0. Minus of minus is plus cos 0, which is going to give you 1. So what is the meaning of this? That sin x between 0 to 90 degrees, if you calculate the area will exactly be equal to 1 square unit. I'm not sure. I will just show it diagrammatically. just for extra knowledge. Okay, if you don't know, don't worry about it. So this is the graph for sin x. Pi by 2 is 90 degrees. This is 0. So the area made by sin x in this region is 1 square unit. Okay, that is the meaning. Okay. So I just want to add one last point, guys. I told you definite integral is a tool to find the area, right? Add another point, area with sign. Means this is the only place where you will get area as positive as well as negative. So if you want to understand what I mean, if you guys know what is sin pi, you can try to calculate this area and see. So how to calculate that area? Integral of sin x dx. Tell me the limits, guys. This is pi.
Pi by 2 and pi.
Pi by 2 to pi. You calculate the area and see what you are getting. You get the answer as, I don't know. You check it. Okay. You can do this.
Sir, it
and
should also be pi, no sir. 1, no sir.
It will not be 1. It will be, sorry, it will be 1. It will be 1 only. Sorry, it will be 1 only. But this area will change. This area will be something different.
That would be -1.
That will be minus. That is why I told you will get area with sign. That is what the definite integral does. Okay. So anyways, the majority of the applications of the sin x and all, you will have it the next year only. For this year, you will deal only with algebraic functions. Okay. So that is all about integration also, guys. So tomorrow we will do some example problems and then we will go into the concept of equations of motion. Okay. How to derive equations of motion and what do we have in motion in one dimension, all those things we'll deal in tomorrow's class. Okay. And lastly, before you wind up, there is an update. Since we have completed 2 chapters, you'll be having tests next week. The schedule for that will be shared by tomorrow. Okay, so start preparing well. If there is any doubt, reach out to me on the student support number. Is that clear?
Yes, sir.
Good. Okay. I'll see you all tomorrow, guys.
Thank you, sir.
Thank you.
Thank you, sir.
Thank you, sir.